I've come to realize that it's not a one-off when Kudo drops a light novel inside of the descriptive kits for these characters. This is now starting to be a very common trait. I went and looked at Iuno's kit and I was like, okay, am I reading Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter here? What's going on? And so that's what you guys got me here today. We're going to be talking about her kit and breaking it down on a very fundamental, easily palatable level so that everybody knows not only how her kit functions, but the goals you're going for and how you should do her rotation, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and get into it. First of all, holy shit, she is hot, guys. Starting off with her whole entire skill tree. Basic attack, completely worthless, not worth investing in at all. If you want to just know the why, because that is important, it's because all of these multipliers completely get overwritten and bypassed by the Forte Circuit multipliers. So there's literally no reason to build this up unless you're just a Iuno simp. Same concept applies here. This is completely fucking worthless. Resonant skill, almost worthless. You do actually use this skill from time to time. Like, I have a rotation written down where I cast this skill literally just one time. The damage isn't anything to brag home about. It's going to be closing refrain. And as you can see, it's okay, but it doesn't scale off Resonance Lib the way her Forte Circuit ability or Resonance Lib does. And so you're casting it. You can invest in this. If you're somebody who's going to be looking to play the hell out of her, take it to probably level 8, I would say, and then call it a day. And then, of course, if you're a simp, take it to level 10. The real bread and butter, though, of her kit is going to be the Forte Circuit. And then it's going to be Resonance Liberation just for damage. Resonance Liberation will double in damage at level 10. So, of course, you want to take this all the way up just so you can get that nice burst of damage. And then, of course, because it's her Res Lib, it's considered Res Lib without specifying. Now, let's go ahead and get into why the Forte Circuit is everything. First and foremost, as I told you before, her basic attacks are overwritten with new enhanced multiplier basic attacks. However, this only applies when you enter the new moon state, and we'll go over how to enter that later. The other thing is her skill becomes an enhanced arc beyond the edge damage. This is a fat multiplier. This is a level 1 ability, and it's already at 320%. And the crazy thing about arcs beyond the edge is if we come over here, you get 2 initial charges. So it's one of those abilities that you can cast twice in a row. We're already looking at 640% multiplier, and this is just a level 1 ability, which means at level 10, this is going to double in damage. That means that 640 is going to be 1 casting, and then when you cast it twice, it's going to be 1280% multiplier. That's bigger than her ultimate's damage, and it's considered Resonance Liberation. So this is going to be the most important thing to cast as soon as you can cast it. There's a bit of a caveat here, though. All of these enhanced multipliers, you can only use them when your sentience meter is full. Well, I'm not going to say full, but you have sentience to consume. And that's when I want to explain to you the differences between half moon state versus new moon state. And I want to just full screen here real quick. Half moon state, the only way you should ever enter that state and stay in it is because your sentience meter is low. You don't have sentience filled up. Because once you enter new moon state and you start casting basic attacks and the enhanced skill, it's going to consume sentience to amplify those multipliers and deal big dig damage. So half moon state, in short, just to fill up sentience meter. New moon state, everything is where it's new moon's where like all the good shit, all the cool stuff happens. It's healing you, it's dealing increased damage, it's providing like, it's a lot. We'll go over that in a bit. So those are the clear core objectives of the 2 different states once you enter the lunar cycle. Now that's the next thing I want to talk to you about. How the hell do you enter the lunar cycle? Very easy. So if we come over here to your Resonance Liberation, you can enter the lunar cycle by merely casting ult. I don't recommend that. Or you can enter the lunar cycle by using closing refrain, which is just one of the 3 ways of casting her skill. But there's a caveat here. If you enter lunar cycle from closing refrain, you can only activate closing refrain from one of 3 options: basic attack stage 3, intro skill, and pulse of origins. Now, in my mind, the most efficient way is clearly going to be intro skill, right? Because that's in alignment with the fluidity of rotations. You intro in with Iuno, immediately closing refrain becomes available. So you pop skill, enter lunar cycle, and then you pop ultimate right after that, which I have the whole rotation laid out so that you guys could see, oh, okay, yeah, that's really easy. But the reason that makes the most sense is because if you come over here and scroll all the way down, intro skill, first of all, she can hold up to 100 points of sentience, right? But intro skill restores 40 points, so you only need 60 remaining. And then you pop ult and you get the 60 remaining. So in this rotation, just casting the intro skill into closing refrain to enter the lunar cycle, then popping ult, you will have your 100 sentience just from doing that, to the point where there's no reason to be in half moon state at all. You can just enter new moon state immediately, and then you'll pop that enhanced skill for some big dig damage. I feel like that's going to be like almost a Sanwa fluidity of rotation, if that makes sense. But there is one thing to mention. Obviously basic attack stage 3, I think that'll be like the worst, most slow way to do it, but it is an option, and I love nuances of rotations and combos just for the sake of fun and cooking. Pulse of Origins is another way to do it if your intro skill isn't up yet, right? You didn't fill up the intro skill yet because whoever the hell you're using on the team is kind of slow. You can do a little bit of a swap back type of ordeal where you go over to Iuno, pop Pulse of Origins, and then what I like about this option is popping Pulse of Origins. I love double skill casting. Replaces Iuno's resonant skill with closing refrain for the next 5 seconds. So you can pop Pulse of Origins, and then your skill is going to transform into closing refrain, pop skill again, and now you enter the lunar cycle. That is another alternative just in case the intro skill isn't up. From there, again, you would pop your ult for a nice burst of damage, and then there's no point, because at this point you're going to be in the half moon lunar cycle state. Your sentience is already full, and so the next thing for you to do is to enter the new moon cycle. Smack, how the hell do I enter the new moon cycle? Very simple. It's this attack called Heavy Attack Flux. And the cool thing, I'm gonna full screen on this again. The cool thing about Heavy Attack Flux is it's literally your space bar on PC or the jump button on the phone. When you enter lunar cycle, regardless of half moon or new moon state, you enter this, I think they call it meandering jargon. I know. Meandering is literally just when Iuno's in her hover mode and she's fucking floating around and traversing. When you enter lunar cycle, that is your only way of traversing. You're just hovering around. So she's a floaty character 100%. That said, in this floaty state, if you hit the space bar, it's Heavy Attack Flux. You're not going to jump. You're just going to do Heavy Attack Flux. And this Heavy Attack Flux is the literal button that allows you to jump between half moon and new moon states. Does that make sense? So in that rotation, intro in, pop skill, pop ultimate, and then literally hit spacebar to go from half moon into the new moon state. You have 100 sentience meter now, and you can get to popping off. That is the best way to do that rotation based off of what I'm looking at here. If it's a bit confusing, once again, lunar cycle enables you to enter both half moon and new moon states. To swap between the states, just hit spacebar or jump button on your phone. That will activate Heavy Attack Flux, which literally allows you to switch between half moon and new moon. I wanted to say it one more time because I can understand that all you have in front of you guys is just my verbal communication, and sometimes that's not enough to like send the message home, but hopefully that helped you out. Now, moving on. Now that you enter new moon state from half moon state by hitting Heavy Attack Flux, you also have your 100 sentience meter completely filled to the brim. We can now access the enhanced Arc Beyond the Edge damage, because this becomes accessible once you enter new moon state, which is really nice, right? That's right over here in case you want to take a look at it. This is going to be a 1280 multiplier. The only thing you should do as soon as you enter new moon state is just spam skill 2 times, because that's going to give you 1280 off rip, right? Massive big dig damage is considered resonance lib too, so it's going to be a lot of damage in a quick amount of time. Now, there's one problem here that I have with this description, and it's okay. Often at times, developers kind of leave information out so that the community can kind of figure that out on their own, and there's a bit of an enjoyment. And oh, guys, look, they didn't supply how much sentience is being consumed inside of this. All it says is consume sentience. Nowhere in this description are you going to find how much sentience is being consumed by activating your Beyond the Arc Edge damage. It just doesn't specify it. That's okay. When the game comes out, you'll know how much it's being consumed when you activate these abilities. And depending on that, you're either going to, as soon as you spam 2 Arc Beyond the Edges, bam, bam. If you got remaining sentience, then you're just going to do your enhanced basics, right? Enhanced Moonbow Basic, Enhanced Moonbow Basic 2, Enhanced Moonbow Basic 3. There's only 3 basics. So, and they all have very impressive multipliers. So you're going to pop those 3 right after spamming enhanced skill 2 times. And then I think you just get her off the field. Because at that point, The only objective after casting Enhance Arc Beyond the Edge is getting her Concerto meter filled up. That's it. That's the only freaking objective. Once that Concerto gets filled up, it's time to get her off the field. And that leads me into the next most important thing about her Forte circuit. Filling up the Concerto meter is going to give you access to what's called the, right here, Heavy Attack Absolute Fullness. This state enables you to literally cast a domain expansion. I know Wuthering Waves and Kudo Games love they love Jujutsu Kaisen, bro. They're massive fans because we've seen so many domain expansions in this game now to the point where it's just like, all right, bro, y'all just love y'all some Gojo Satoru and some JJK at this point. But she does, once Concerto meter's full and you outro skill out, she's gonna activate domain expansion, aka absolute fullness, heavy attack. It casts automatically on the outro, and then this is going to be called Full Moon Domain. What does this do? What's the perk of the domain expansion? It's very simple, actually. First of all, periodically, you're going to restore HP and stamina. A lot of people sleep on stamina, especially over here on the, you know what it is? It's a Western CC debuff. For real this time, it's a Western debuff. The reason we sleep on stamina over here on the Western side is because we're not fucking getting sweaty with dodge cancels. But a perk like this for real sweats of Wuthering Waves gameplay, stamina being replenished allows people to spam more dodge cancels, which means on the literal like skill ceiling level, the hardcore audience is going to be able to get the cooking with this full domain. But on a casual level, nobody really gives a fuck about this. Iuno will though, because Iuno does consume her own stamina as she's in her meandering, hovering around and shit. But that's pretty much the first part, right? Restore HP and stamina. Then gaining a shield while being inside of this domain gives you a Blessing of the Wand light stack. In short, all a Blessing of the Wand light stack is 4% damage amplification, and that's the big boy multiplier. Stacks up to 10 times, which means if you get 10 shields, that's a 40% damage amplification buff. Now here comes the problem, which I don't see as a problem, only because it's the same shit they've been doing since frame one. Actually, that's a bad way to word it. It's a problem, but it's a problem that they've always like operated on. Basically, the only people who are going to get 10 stacks of fucking shields are the people who can create 10 stacks of shields. Right now, you know who that is? It's just Augusta and Iuno. Nobody else can create 10 stacks of shields, not even shield dedicated characters such as Kung Fu Panda and Big Titty Girl. I forget her name, the 4-star character. They don't even create 10 stacks of shields, right? So the only people getting real access to this, Augusta and Iuno. That is a problem, but once again, they have been creating these supportive characters like Iuno, like Peeb, like Shakona, a lot of them, to where they only really benefit one other character, and then everybody else kind of synergizes with them, but not fucking really. So that's just the way, that's just the way the cookie crumbles in Wuthering Waves in terms of how they monetize their characters and synergies. But getting back on topic, Full Moon Domain restores HP, restores stamina, gives damage amplification to whoever can create shields for themselves. Maybe they'll have echoes come out that create shields or something, who knows, or future characters, but that's the way that works. So that is, for me, a bit like anticlimactic, I would say, because when you get a full domain, you're kind of thinking like even more shit is going to happen, especially if you're coming from like a game like Genshin Impact, the little Archon from Sumeru. That domain expansion is like, what is it, like crit rate, crit damage, her attacks are on top of your attacks, like just ridiculous amounts of benefits. Whereas with somebody like Iuno, it's just HP and stamina, and then that shield perk that only applies to Augusta and Iuno. Now there's one more thing. Because this Full Moon Domain does activate with Heavy Attack Absolute Fullness, it synergizes with her outro skill. So when you outro and her Concerto's filled up, obviously, you're simultaneously outroing while also activating that Full Moon Domain shit, which means you're getting this on top of the shit I just told you. So whoever comes in is getting a 50% heavy attack damage amplification bonus for the next 14 seconds. And they're also getting access to wherever the hell this shit is. This perk right here, HP and stamina replenishment plus the stacks of the Blessing of the Wand. In short, Augusta and Iuno can get up to a 90% damage bonus. Actually, Iuno can't give that to herself. Augusta can get up a 90% damage amplification bonus to her heavy attacks. And yeah, so that's pretty much the way that works. That's it. That's the whole purpose of her kit, meta wise, I would say. Now I did pull up this. In fact, I'm just gonna like zoom out. There's a lot. You guys can screenshot it if you want. Let's start up at the top here. This was just my way of like TLDR. If you want to just look at it yourself, go ahead and let me full screen this too. My bad, not my bad, guys. I'm all over the place. Go ahead and like screenshot this just in case you can do a little bit of like studying on your own just to see how things work. Now I'm gonna scroll down. Boom. Now we can talk about in short how the rotation is gonna function. So you intro in, and from intro in, you get access to her closing refrain. Closing refrain puts you inside of Lunar Cycle. You pop ult for free damage, stay in Lunar Cycle, Half Moon. Then you tap spacebar because there's no reason to be in Half Moon because these two here gave you 100 sentience. Double cast Resonant Skill for the enhanced 1280 multiplier damage. If you have sentience remaining, we don't know this right now, do some basic attacks. It's actually not two, it's gonna be maybe 3 basic attacks. If that completely depletes your sentience meter or fills up your concerto bar, now you're gonna outro out and get her off the field. That's the way that Iuno's kit is going to function based off of what I've seen on the paper. Again, feel free to screenshot this if need be. And that's gonna wrap up my video. Hopefully I brought you guys some good information. As usual, I strive to be as informative and efficient as possible. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys on the flip side.